Good afternoon, welcome to Sus News. I'm Amy Bosher.
And I'm Adea Baba. Here are today's headlines.
The votes from yesterday's council elections are still being counted. We are waiting to hear the final results.
Theresa May made a visit to a Brighton newspaper yesterday, stating how Brexit will be good for the city.
An arts festival, Brighton Fringe, returns to the city today for a month of events. We are still currently waiting on the final results of yesterday's county council elections, as votes are still being counted. The outcome of the results at the moment show that UKIP have currently made no gains and Labour are also experiencing some losses. The Conservative Party are currently doing well with a gain of over 120 seats in England and 50 in Wales. Our reporter Gaia Campasato has more.
The votes from yesterday's county council elections are currently being counted and we're a moment away from knowing the final results. Almost 5,000 council seats are up for grabs in 88 councils all across England, Scotland and Wales. The outcome seems to be generally very positive for the Conservative Party all over the country so far, as they've gained control of 5 councils overnight with more than 150 seats won. At this very moment, Conservatives have gained more than 50 seats in Wales and over 120 in England. These are the best results the Conservatives have achieved in local elections in the past decade.
There's a strong swing to the Conservatives. That reflects two things. That reflects the successful appeal, obviously, of Theresa May. I know it's a local election, it's not really about who's national, but I think her selling power is very important to this. And secondly, it reflects the failure of Labour, and it reflects the difficulties that Labour is having and is going to have in the general election. And I think clearly a lot of this is about Corbyn.
Currently, both UKIP and the Labour Party are experiencing losses. UKIP is down more than 40 seats in England, losing all of its seats in Essex, Lincolnshire and Hampshire. Labour has managed to retain control of Cardiff, Swansea and Newport councils, but they've also been experiencing major losses, losing 2 councils and over 80 seats in Wales, more than 130 seats on a national scale and 120 councillors across England. The Liberal Democrats are also experiencing losses, having lost almost 30 seats all over the country. Tim Bowles has been elected Mayor of the West of England for the Conservatives, and Ross Johns has been re-elected Mayor for Doncaster for Labour. I'm Gaia Campasato for Sussex News.
David Davis says that the European Commission is trying to bully the British people. The Brexit Secretary speaks about a briefing by the European Commission, saying that it was deliberately misleading. He says the stories that followed a private dinner between the Prime Minister and Jean-Claude Juncker about the UK having to pay a fee of 100 billion euros to exit the EU crossed a line. Mr. Davis is backing Theresa May after she criticized the stories on BBC One's Question Time.
In local news, Prime Minister Theresa May made a visit to Brighton yesterday, telling a local newspaper how Brexit would be good for the city. We are joined here in the studio with our special correspondent Marcella Homer. So Marcella, do you know if there were any precautions taken when Theresa May visited the newspaper's office in Brighton?
Yes, so the IT did search the toilets for explosions, but didn't find any. These toilets are just located right outside of the offices on the first floor of the building on Manchester Street. And these precautions were only taken 5 hours before the Prime Minister arrived on location.
And how will Brexit benefit Brighton?
So Theresa May did say that if there was a good Brexit deal, that Brighton could definitely benefit from a better funding, including better funding for police force, the NHS and schools.
Did she say anything else in relation to Brighton and Hove?
Yes, she did in fact speak about the Southern Rail dispute, which is still going on, but she unfortunately said that the government might not be able to step in when she goes back to Downing Street, but she does hope that both of them will sit around a table to find a solution. Here is my report on yesterday's visit.
Prime Minister Theresa May visited a local newspaper in Brighton yesterday afternoon. The Argus office, which is located down Manchester Street, welcomed Miss May as she arrived in a silver Jaguar. The Prime Minister told the Argus that Brexit will be good for Brighton and that the city should embrace the given opportunities. The leader of the Conservative Party said that with a good Brexit deal she can ensure better funding for the under-pressured council. Miss May then expressed her confidence in Simon Kirby as he reached a majority of 690 while running for a Conservative seat in Brighton Kent Town. Earlier yesterday, the Prime Minister visited her hometown of Eastbourne to meet her supporters for the upcoming elections, which will be held on the 8th of June. This is Marcella Homer for Sussex News.
Brighton and Hove City Council backed a recommendation yesterday so that families will no longer have to pay for the burial plots and headstones of their deceased children. The decision will be saving each family £175 at a time. It was also decided that 18-year-old students will be granted discretion and will be treated as minors. Conservative Anne Norman said, "Losing a child isn't as rare as you might think." The council hopes that while grief and emotions are high, the financial worry can be handled for the families involved.
People in Brighton and Hove are coming together to clean up the local parks in the city. The council have invited over 1,000 people who are interested in volunteering to lend a hand. The event's planned to start at the end of this month in Stamner Park and end in August. We had our reporter Eleanor Russell investigate this story further.
More than 1,000 people have been invited by the council to help clean up their local parks. They were selected after they expressed an interest in volunteering after the council carried out the Big Parks consultation last autumn to give more priority to local parks. The events are due to start in May and end in August. There will be 2 events, clean-up days and introduction to volunteering days. The volunteering days include meeting with a park ranger and deciding on what volunteers can do to help. Chair of the Council's Environment, Transport and Sustainability Committee, Jill Mitchell said, "We're really keen to harness the enthusiasm and find out how this goodwill can be turned into activity to improve our parks. One of the first few sessions will be held at the end of May in Stamner Park." This is Eleanor Russell for Sussex News.
John Lewis has scrapped its plans to open a new store on the Boots site near the Clock Tower in Brighton. John Lewis has announced that they are disappointed that they have decided not to progress with their plans to open a branch in the new location. Boots will remain at its original location, having signed a new lease on the premises. Our reporter, Lauren Horde, has the story.
With 48 stores already in the UK, John Lewis was expected to open another door here in Brighton. However, it was announced earlier this week that they have had to drop their plans to build here, despite releasing images of the final developments in September last year. John Lewis had bought this building on North Street, the current home to popular retail store Boots, in March 2015. Yet, due to the mass amount of building works required to develop the store, they have had to fall through with the opening. As a result, this has provided Boots with a new lease to keep their store here in Brighton. Despite being a shop the public were looking forward to opening in the city, rises in online spending habits have recently altered the footfall in John Lewis's stores, with staff bonuses being cut by 40% earlier this year. And, with big-name department stores such as Debenhams and HomeSense already established here, would John Lewis have been a sustainable company in the long term?
Online would be better for them, I think, because there's so many different clothes shops around here. You can easily just sit at home on your computer and just order online.
I think the only downfall with John Lewis being here, maybe his location, as in pick up and drop off with stuff like that. That's what I thought when they were first coming here, buying bulky items. So maybe that's why they've dropped out, I don't know.
It's clear that there are mixed opinions on the matter surrounding the sudden cancellation. But for now, John Lewis is keeping its doors shut here in Brighton. This has been Lauren Horde reporting live for Sussex News.
One of England's largest arts festivals returns to Brighton. Brighton Fringe Festival begins its month-long event across the city today. Just in time for the summer holidays, Brighton Fringe Festival has over 970 events at 155 different venues. Every year, the festival sees a range of local, national and international artists and organisations come together, and over half the participants performing this year are Brighton and Hove based. Later this month, we're set to see the first ever Fringe all-nighter, with shows running until the early hours of the morning. The festival brought around 500,000 people to the city last year, and with over 200 events being free, it's expected to be a popular event once again. The votes from yesterday's county council elections are still currently being counted.
Theresa May thinks Brexit will be good for Brighton.
And Brighton Fringe Festival returns to the city today. That's all your news for now. I'm Amy Bosher.
And I'm Adia Baba. We hope you can join us here again at Sus News.